the Saba black iguana. Unfortunately, Saba is also now home to the green iguana, an invasive species. So what is the relationship between these species? Well, that's what we're going to find out tonight. Nathalie Duporge is a French wildlife zoologist with a dual professional background combining ex situ and in situ conservation skills. Based in Martinique, she's focused on conservation projects for Iguana delicatissima, we can call it delicatessen, for the last 5 years, and she had the pleasure to join the IUCN Iguana Specialist Group in 2021. Innovative in the tools she uses, camera traps, and endoscopy, IR imaging, photo identification, etc. She has long been active in the French West Indies National Action Plans and has a thorough knowledge of the region and its stakeholders. Test your spot the difference skills to distinguish between native, invasive, and hybrid iguanas. So please welcome sharp-eyed Nathalie as your guide tonight.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for your patience. Sorry about the technical issue. I'm very happy to be there. As Lynn said, I'm Nathalie. I'm French, so I may have sometimes some trouble with my English, but we'll do manage. And I'm happy to be there tonight to introduce you to the different issues we can encounter in iguana conservation, especially about the Saban iguana and the new and upcoming situation with the arrival of some green iguana on your island, and how do we, scientists and stakeholders, do to mitigate this problem of invasion in the Caribbean islands. So first, let's come to basics. What's an iguana? It's no dinosaur, it's no amphibian, it's the same family as crocodiles, tortoises, snakes. They are reptiles, so we can recognize them thanks to their scales, and it's supposed that they will have some properties and abilities we will talk about later. Those animals, they are most of the time terrestrial, and they are diurnal. They need to do their stuff during the day because those animals are called like cold-blooded. It's okay? Thank you. As they don't produce their own heat, so they need the sun to eat them, and they eat the sun to get energy to do everything they need to. So iguana, you can see there is lots of different species of iguana in the world, including the black Saban iguana. They all have the same sort of shape, but you can see lots of different colors, patterns, even sizes. So all the iguanas are tropical animals. They come from this own region on the planet, except for the Fiji island, which is a bit far away. And they are not found anywhere else in the world. So it's an information that is very important to deal with if they're in any need to protect them or not. So let's say a word about the iguana life cycle. So those animals, they need to accomplish their life cycle to stay and to have generation after generation. So first we do have some adults. They will mate, and after that, as they are reptiles, the iguanas are laying eggs in sort of sandy soil. So most of the time, above the different species, they lay between 15 to 30 eggs. For the Saban iguana, it's almost every time around 15. But some other species, like the green iguana, some lineage of the green iguana can lay up to 60 eggs at a time. And most of the time, they will do that once a year. But in some places where there is something to eat all year long, the female will have enough energy to lay twice a year. So it means that they can reproduce a lot quite very fast. After 2 months in the soil, the eggs will hatch, and so we will have those cute little... Okay, I love iguanas, so I feel they are cute. Those cute hatchlings, and they will go out of the eggs, and as soon as they are outside, they are tiny, they are small, so they can encounter lots of predators that can eat them. So they need to hide directly in the nearest bushes or trees to be safe, and they start eating because iguanas, yes, they spend lots of time eating and the other time bathing, sunbathing, and the rest of time mating. So they will eat and eat so they can grow up, going to the subadult phase. And as soon as they are big enough, because it's not a problem of aging to become an adult, but a problem of size. As soon as they reach the recommended size, the needed one for their biology to allow them to have eggs, and for the male to allow them to beat all the men or the male iguanas to access to the female, they become reproducible and they become adults. And so here we have the whole cycle of their life. So what's the role of the iguanas in our ecosystem? So as we said previously, on the biology level, they are ectothermic. They don't produce their own heat as mammals do. So they need to sunbath to get enough energy, most of the time for the digestion of what they are eating and for moving and things like that. They sort of have the same temperature as their environment. So they love to lay on big rocks that have been eaten by the sun or get this heat from all over themselves. So due to that, they act most of the time during the day, and during the night they will find a place that they feel safe. So lots of time they are climbing in trees like the little ones, but growing up, most of the time they start to dig burrows, and they slept in burrows all night long. So they are herbivorous, so it means like that iguanas are not really dangerous. They won't bite you because they are angry or things like that. They eat some leaves, fruits, flowers, anything they can find that it looks like from far or from close to a vegetable. We can have some iguanas that can be some opportunistic iguanas, because as they need energy to function, they are champion in sparing energy. So between going in the trees to get some leaves and going in that bin just around them with some things to eat, they will go in the bin. So they can eat French fries, chicken, or anything that is leftovers. And they are terrestrial and arboreal. So regarding their ecosystem place and role, those iguanas, they finally are considered grazing prey for lots of animals. Most of the time they are just prey when they are juveniles, because they are tiny enough so that other animals can catch them. As soon as they grew and get adult size, it's very difficult for them to be catched, even by human. The thing is that in the original region of the common iguana, which is most of the time South America, there is larger predators like jaguars, big monkeys, and so all these predators also eat adults. But on our tiny island, only the little ones can be catched by cats, dogs, chicken or birds of prey, and even by rats. Rats most of the time are destructing the nests because they eat the eggs directly. So it can be a real problem when you are trying to protect a species that you have rats on your nesting sites, and so it's very important to have this in mind. So those animals, as you can see, they eat leaves, flowers, and fruits, so they are considered sort of natural gardeners for the landscape, keeping the vegetation in shape, and they also are a good seed spreaders, because as they eat the fruits, they will travel a little bit, and so with the poop, they go outside, the seeds will be unable to grow faster, and they can spread the seeds at the different places they go. So some people don't understand why iguanas have their place in the ecosystem, but they do. Okay, I'm fond of iguanas. I've already said that. So what about Saba black iguana? Your beautiful, marvelous iguana has this special shape and color. So this color is a sort of melanistic form of the common iguana, and we will talk in the next slides about this question. Is it just a melanic form, or is it a separate species of the common iguana? They are endemic to Saba and Montserrat. That means that it seems that we don't find them anywhere else in the world, and they start to be threatened by different type of threats. We will talk about that. So here is a map of your island with the different most iguana sightings that has been done by my friend Thijs van den Berg, who is working a lot on this species. Okay, when you look at the map, you can see that lots of iguanas are seen around roads, and that's pretty normal because there is not so many people going in the places where there is no roads or houses. So it's often the time when we are studying species that we first have lots of sightings around where we have activities. So for those who will be interested tomorrow to join for a little hike to try to see them, we have postponed the departure because iguanas need sun to move and to do their activities. So at 8 in the morning, it's a good hour for humans, but it's not a good hour for iguanas. So we postponed it a little bit later, around 10. And I think, if Lynn, you're okay with that, we'll go on this, around this place, yes. And I think it's a good spot to try to see some iguanas, take pictures, and have a chat and discussion about them. Yeah, so considering the question of do we have to consider the black Saban iguana as our own species or only a subspecies, we do have some work that have been done the last 3 years about the genetic side of this, because phenotypically, when you look at the iguana, a green iguana and a Saba iguana really look the same, except for the color and some sign we will talk about, and except for the pattern on the body. But when you deepen the question at the genetic level, scientists have quite recently isolated different lineage in the common iguana population, with a French Guiana major group of iguana in this population coming out South America. A second group with St. Lucia and Grenadine of iguana that looks like the common iguana and the Saba iguana, but are genetically different on the microsatellite level. And then the Montserrat and Sabat iguana isolated from the two previous. And there are scientists and doing lots of great things about genetics. They also look about the mitochondrial DNA of those species, and it's thought as the same, the three groups with the common iguana, the St. Lucia, Grenadine, Iguana insularis. And so we are arguing just right now. The decision is not made, but we have proposed to name the iguana of Saba, Iguana melanoderma, as his own species, different from the two other groups. So, like, with those results, you can see that science is still ongoing, and we don't have all the keys and clues to make a decision at this time. So when you look at them, here you have pictures of the Saban iguana and pictures of green iguana. I can understand that people that aren't iguana specialists think they are all the same. But when you look at it closely, we can see some differences. The main difference is the color, of course, because it's a melanic form. So you can see this one is a young Saba iguana. This one is an adult one, really more aged. The first of all thing we spot when we see them is the black spot they have between the eye and the tympanum. I'll bring this with me. So on the anatomy of iguana, here is the eye. Here is what we call the subtympanic scale, and here is the ear of the iguana. They don't have external ear, they only have a tympanum. So the spot, the black zone, is really between the eye and the tympanum. And as they go older, the black just spans everywhere on the body. And on those ones that are common iguana, pictures taken in Martinique, you can see that even if there are some black somewhere, it doesn't look the same. And most of the green iguana also wear some sort of a horn on the nose that Saban iguana never have. So we do have some clues when we look at them from the outside to forecast if they are pure Saban iguana or hybrids or even green iguanas. So here I spent some pictures of iguana. Maybe we can try a little quiz. So the big picture in the middle, what do you think it is? Common iguana or Saban iguana? Yes, Saba, because of the nice black spot, really well see there. Let's see this one with the orange glove. It's a bit tricky. No. This one is the common iguana from Martinique, and the black things, it's just dirt. It's not, yes, it's tricky. Yeah. This one in the middle at the back. Saba, yes, it's Saba. The green one. Yes, this one is Saba. The other up. Green iguana, and you can see the horn on the nose for this one. And up there, yes, an aging, really aging Saba iguana, of course. And we have those two little ones. So, this one? Yeah, this one is Saba, thanks to the black spot that is starting. And this pattern on the body that the green iguana doesn't have. So, you see, it's not that difficult. But sometimes it can be a bit tricky, and so that's why we need some genetic tool to really know what we are facing. So, yeah. There, it's a bag, yes. When we catch them, we put them in some bags dedicated for iguanas, and it's really easy to carry them that way. Yeah. They feel really comfortable and just calm down, and they can breathe. It's cotton bags, and it's really effective. Yeah. So the question is, we do have some beautiful black iguanas on Saba, but why do we need to protect them? Why are we talking about conservation about them? So this species is some sort of flagship species for Saba of this, yes, because they are representative of this unique ecosystem. They are a unique melanistic iguana, Saba and Montserrat, but nowhere else in the world we have iguanas that look like this. They are endemic. They are the largest native vertebrate of the island, so if we let them disappear, there will not be any that large vertebrate on the island. They are gardeners, harvesters of this beautiful landscape, and seed spreaders, so they really participate at the maintenance of the ecosystem. And also they are our biodiversity heritage for the future generations. So all those topics are very important, and that's why we are very, it's very important for us to try to protect them and not let them disappear. Why will they disappear anyway? Is there any threats that can drive them to extinction? Yes, there is. So iguanas all around the world have faced lots of phases of historic hunting. It's meat that seems like people are liking. And previously, they were just like bushmeat. People don't have animals to grow to eat, so they just take the iguanas from nature, and that was nice because there was not so many people, so it was not a real problem. But to date, it can be, because they have encountered lots of hunting when the Caribbean islands were colonized. They are also facing today the deterioration of their habitat caused to different problems, like roaming livestock, like roads that goes more and more in the nature, or land that we are using for human activities, so there is less land, less habitat for these animals. They also can encounter some issues with food competition. If there is lots of roaming livestock everywhere, they will eat every new leaf and the iguanas won't find any food resources anymore. The same for some other invasive species. The juveniles, we have seen that they are really tiny and they are the only phase of the species that can be really affected by too many predators. So if there are feral cats or feral animals that prey on them, it can be a real problem for the species and lead them to extinction. It's the case in different islands. And the most problem, the major one that we encounter in the different Caribbean islands and that is emerging in Saba now is the hybridization with the invasive common or green iguana. So for all these reasons and the previous one, this species is a real part of the balance of Saba ecosystem, and if they disappeared, this will break this balance and some other problems can be seen and new to the ecosystem. So why are we so concerned about the fact that green iguanas can arrive and have already arrived on Saba Island? This species is naturally present in South America and Central America, and we have seen in all over the Lesser Antilles that they have been coming inside the different islands at different times and from different ways. The historical invasive introduction was a bit long ago, but not that far. And most of the time, the threat is due to human activity or transportation. They can just climb in a boat from anywhere and then go off this boat at the arrival destination. And also because we are in a region that encounters lots of climatic problems like hurricanes, and it's easy for an iguana to stay on a branch after a storm or a hurricane, and this branch is just floating on the sea and arriving at the next island, and the iguana jump off the branch and okay, is in a new island and nobody noticed. So due to that, we have previously talked about that some different genetic lineage start to appear in our islands, and this is due to the fact that this green iguana can interbreed with the native local iguanas of the different islands. Yes. So this iguana is unable to lay to 30 to 60 eggs per liter, so it's far way more than other native species. Due to the fact that it's coming out from a continent and encountering more predators, this species of iguana has this capacity to lay more eggs, to have more survival rates than other native species on little island without predators that face not those problems of survival rate. So regular climatic events, we talked about that. They most of the time spread along the coast because it's easy for them to find sun there, to find food resources, and because jumping into the sea is a very nice way for them to escape threats. So they love to stay on the coastal, but if there is no more place, there was about to grow population inside the islands. And the major problem with this species is the hybridization risk. So just a few pictures of the Guadeloupe situation, the Martinique situation, and some numbers from Grand Cayman, and Guadeloupe and Martinique. And here you can see some pictures that were taken when we first saw in Martinique the first hybrids between common iguanas and our local native one called Delicatissima. And they have different features that is really telling us that those animals are interbred between the two species. So this hybridization problem is that those species are so close that when they interbreed, they have some infants. Those infants are hybrids, but the problem is that not most of the time in nature, hybrids aren't able to breed again because when you interbreed a horse and a donkey, the result is not able to breed because it's not natural. But these species, they are so close that when hybrids, a first generation of hybrids is born, they can interbreed again with both native or invasive or also hybrids. And as the green iguana coming out from a continent, his genes are very strong and very strong. So most of the time the hybrids just look like the green iguana, and that's why we need genetic information to be really sure if there are hybrids or not. And to date, we can also know if it's a first generation hybrid or a second or third generation. So it let us know really important information to deal with them. So if you look at this nice gem, you can see different results about genetics between the different species of iguana we talked about. And normally, the Saba and Montserrat iguana genetically are that far away from the others, but some of them already are, the samples of some of them already show that hybridization is running in Saba. So some of the animals that have been sampled has been considered hybrids because of this. The problem with the green iguana is not only on the hybridization level, it's also ecological, sanitary, and economical for the different islands where they spread. On the ecological level, we've seen that they are laying lots of more eggs than the native species of iguana. That means that the population will grow so fast that in different places the vegetation just can't keep growing. You can see here mangrove pictures taken after the arrival of iguanas. They just settled down and they were so numerous that they eat every leaves and every new one, so the mangroves start dying. And in St. Martin, after Irma, the same situation has been seen. There were tons of iguana, there is still, and the vegetation after the hurricane just can't grew up again because of the iguanas eating every tiny little leaves that was coming out. So it's a real problem. So on the ecological side, we do have those both hybridization and overgrazing because they are too numerous. On the sanitary side, we do have some research ongoing also, because iguanas are animals that are really nice. They are really, resistant to anything. So they most of the time are health carrier for very bad bacteria or microbiome that can be transmitted to other species. Like for Delicatissima, the green iguanas bring in Martinique and Guadeloupe a bacteria never seen before on this species, and it leads the Delicatissima to death, so it's not that good. And most of the time, as they love to stay on the coastal side and near the concrete and buildings that are very hot because they need this heat, they can also spend lots of time in dirty places with rats and so on. So we do have really sanitary issues in these places. So that's why we recommend people not to eat them. Yep.
Is that an injury on the metal roll, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And on the economical level, lots of islands to date encounter really huge problems because as they are digging burrows and nests, if the population of iguana is overgoing, they start to destroy roads, they start to destroy even buildings because they dig too many burrows below the buildings, and so we have to deal with all this, and it costs a lot. So all those invasive species have different impacts that we consider ecological, sanitary, and economical, and very important one. So, which options do we have to control this when we want to protect a species or deal with the impacts we talked about? So, depending on the pressure of the invasive species on the ecosystem we are in, the means available, the cost that will be needed, and the objective, we've seen that on the Caribbean islands we have three sorts of control that have been set up depending on those situations. The first one is the iguana cull that the Cayman Islands have been running. The other one can be removal on report, for example, from the French West Indies island. And then considering the real need to protect the native species, just conserving the native species on a remote islet so that you don't have any invasive problem as soon as you ensure biosecurity on your islet. So the Grand Cayman option, the population of green iguana on Grand Cayman was just crazy in numbers. So they started to survey the whole Grand Cayman island to know what the population was. They surveyed it every year, and they started to have enough information to try to model the evolution of this population for the coming years. And so they said, okay, if we don't do anything, the whole island will just disappear under iguanas. So they decided, yes, really. So they decided to form and agreed 44 people to be unable to catch and kill the iguanas. So within 3 years, they just catch and kill 1.3 million of common iguana on the island. You can see there that they were catching lots of iguanas the first years and months. We have the lockdown, and then they started to catch less iguanas. So they will now arrive at a point that, okay, there is not so many iguanas, so what and how do we do with the remaining ones? And we'll talk about that later. In the French West Indies, the situation was a bit different because we don't have such many iguanas all over the island, but lots of anyway. But the question has been raised because of the conservation need for the delicatissima iguana. So we decided with the French authorities to develop public outreach to sensibilize people about the problem. We had to change the statuses of the different species, one to protect, one to decide what we can do with it, and then to look about the way we will capture them and what legal framework do we need for that. So we write down a control plan for the common iguana a few years ago, and this plan has been implemented in Martinique, but not in every places. You can see that on these 4 French territories, you see different dates, you see different level of the control plan, no control plan, no control plan, under consideration, one control plan in action, different institutions. That's a real problem because our territories are scattered and our politicians are different, and sometimes it's difficult to have everybody agree on the same topic. So, and the situation with the iguanas were a little bit different. So most of the time what we do is education directed to citizens and politics in every territories. Then we try to remove the iguanas when we can, so we do have some removal on report on different places and punctual regulation, but we do not have large-scale regulation or cull like in the Caymans. Why not? I'm not French authorities. And the main problem for me is that we do not have any biosecurity done at the entry port of the island, which is harbor or airports. So for me, it's the real problem. And I think on an island tiny like Saba, it's a real thing to think about. Every possible invasive species that can enter your tiny paradise, because it's paradise. So here is some numbers about what we've done in Martinique. And you can see that we only catch 5,500 common iguana in 5 years. So you can see that the result is far away different from the Cayman Island, but the problem was far away different too. So I can't tell now if this is really useful or not, but it's not my role to know. So anyway, I'm not French authorities again. And the third option we talked about was to decide to put your native iguana on a remote islet to protect it from the invasive one. So that's the Anguilla option they take. The thing is that on their mainland, there were only a few remaining native iguanas, so they faced an increasing number of invasive green iguana coming with boats most of the time, but it was still to date too challenging to set biosecurity process on the harbor, so they decided 5 years ago, yeah, to put them to put every native iguana they can find on the mainland on a remote islet, prickly pear east, so that there will be off-end of the common green iguana coming. So they start to do that, they monitor the population, they added external founders because Delicatissima is present on different islands. They take some Delicatissima from Dominica so that they entered new genetic, new blood in the population. And this population is doing quite well, and they are breeding since a few years with new hatchlings and so on. And so on the main island, they still undergo looking for iguanas. It's a native one. They just do some genetics to be sure that they are not hybrids, and if they are pure Delicatissima, they put it on the islet. And if it's hybrids or green iguana, when it's catched, it's killed and everything is okay. So everything is okay, let's cross the fingers. So all of this to finalize, to focus on the problem of invasive species. These invasive species, they are considered the major factor of the potential extinction of lots of animals. So we consider 30% of threatened bird species and 15 of plant species encountered invasive species problems. And we consider that 2 of a third of species extinction are related from far or close to the presence and the development of invasive species on new places. The thing is that our Caribbean islands are particularly sensitive to that because of the fact that we are home of a very rich biodiversity, we are hotspot of it, so it's very important to be aware of that and to forecast it before it's too late. Yes, it's easy to understand that invasive species problem on islands is way far more. It's very more difficult. Impacted. I don't know than in continents because we are close ecosystem. And we do need to have links with other islands, and those links, they are very difficult to manage and real doors to entry of invasive species. So for example, the small Indian mongoose has been killed, lots of reptiles, but it's not only an animal problem. As you can see that the coral creeper is also a problem, and it's only a plant, and it causes damages also. So we have to look about every type of the animal reign anyway. So the challenges for the different islands of the Caribbean regarding especially the green iguana pressure is that we all are working on new objectives. To work on that, you can see the word biosecurity for lots of them. In Martinique, we are trying to deal with the tools we have today, but biosecurity will probably be the next one. In Caymans, as we've seen, they are catching less iguanas per year to date because they have killed a lot of them, and that's quite nice. So now they need to find bridging action to preserve the effort that have been done and not to let the population growing back again. So it will probably lead them to have a shift on the way they are dealing with green iguanas. On Anguilla and on Saba, so we keep assessing the genetic unicity of the Saba iguana, as we said before, because we need to be sure that we can consider it a dedicated species. So for what is to come, for example, in Guadeloupe, we are trying to train dogs to detect iguana, to ease the finding of nests to ease the finding of green iguanas in the different facilities, and it will be a great tool for implementing, for example, biosecurity process on boats and harbors and things like that. On Stasia, they are dealing with funding to strengthen hybrid early detection, and they will probably do it with an international cooperation level with experts from different islands, and that would be great. So on Caymans, funding is also necessary. Anguilla is undergoing some sort of a mainland island project. They have their remote islet with delicatissima, but as we said, you can't only put all your eggs in the same basket. So they are trying to set a mainland island, like an island but on the mainland, with a special fence to be sure that invasive species, iguanas, rats, feral cats, can't enter this land they are trying to protect. And so they will be able to put some delicatissima and other protected species in this mainland island. So it's a great project to come. So within the French West Indies, we are working with the Ministry of Environment to get more funding for invasive species management and control. And on Saba, you have currently a project undergoing for this year and next year to try to catch every non-native iguana that can be seen on the island on 2 dedicated places where some of them have been seen. So that's Thais working on it. So to conclude, I would say that when we are dealing between conservation and invasion, we should have all in mind that islands are sensitive ecosystems because of their size and specificity, that the natural balance rely on dedicated native species because they are just the great equilibrium between what the ecosystem can offer to them and what they can consume. And if you have an invasive species coming inside, everything just breaks down and break the balance. And so as the ecosystem, they just can't support those invasive species coming out from larger space with larger capacity of reproducing and colonizing. So efficient conservation really requires operational management of this sort of threats. All of them sort of showed here with the pictures. So thank you for your attention, and if you have any question, just ask. Yeah.
The Dutch cooperating with the French.
The thing on St. Martin is, I'd say that neither. Yep. Yeah. So the question was, on St. Martin, are the Dutch side cooperating with the French side for managing the iguana problem? I would say that neither the Dutch and neither the French side are dealing with the problem. Sorry.
And is that because they're not supporting it, or no one is asking the government to support it?
The question was, is it because nobody's supported it, or because?
Like no one asked the government.
Okay. No, the problem is that in St. Martin, there is no more native iguana to protect. So I do think that the ecological issue, which is probably mobilizing politicians and other authorities in other territories, doesn't exist in St. Martin. There is only the economical issue and probably a little bit sanitary issue. And the politicians there, they are not aware of that, and they don't take it in consideration today, maybe tomorrow.
So do you feel the answer in St. Martin is to kill all the iguanas?
The problem with the iguana in St. Martin is, oh yes, the question. So do we think that killing all the iguana in St. Martin is the solution? So I'd say that probably managing this population will be a first step. There are so many iguanas, they are reproducing so fast in places that we can't reach the nest or so on. When you catch iguanas, you just catch them one by one. So it takes lots of time and lots of money to send people to catch them. So it's too late to dream to eradicate iguanas out of St. Martin, it's sure. but probably trying to manage the population so that they can't overgrow and overgrow. Probably it will be a great idea, because lots of people are encountering problems with iguanas as they are producing vegetables and things like that, and so they lost lots of their production due to iguanas and monkeys. But so yes, I think that neither authorities on both sides can no longer ignore it, the problem. Yeah.
I know when we've had the problem in Britain with the grey squirrel, and there was a period of time when anybody who caught a grey squirrel, I think it was a month ago, they were paid a small amount.
Yeah.
And so you've got the general population involved in.
Yeah. So the remark was that in other countries, sometimes they pay people to catch the problematic animal, and they are rewarded for bringing them to the authorities. That was the Cayman solution, for example. It can work. The problem is that in lots of our Caribbean islands, we do have native iguanas. So it's very difficult to allow people to catch iguanas or anything else, because you can't be sure that they don't kill the one you want to protect. So it's very, yes, very problematic. Yep. Another question?
Okay, I have a not very popular question. I love all animals, bad iguanas and good iguanas. So all the talks about killing bad iguanas, to me, rubs me the wrong way, because maybe it's just evolution. Maybe those iguanas are meant to rule Saba. And why do we have the right to cull them and kill them because they're bad iguanas, and we have to protect the good iguanas? What is wrong with it?
So the remark was that some people have this sensitivity of who we are to decide which iguana should live or not, and I agree with that anyway. All those animals are animal beings, so the problem is that those iguanas, most of the time, they arrive here due to human activity. They are brought by humans in places that there are no predators, and they don't fit the ecosystem they arrive in. So if we let everything go, we can consider its evolution. I have not the answer, and I think that nobody has it today, but we are facing the breakdown of the ecosystem thanks to those invasive animals, and so we have to do something for the all remaining animals previously living in this ecosystem. So it's not easy. Yep.
Human food source. They're quite edible.
Yep.
So if you have a surplus system in one place, they needn't be wasted. They could be served.
Yeah, the remark was that it's true that those animals can be considered as a food source as soon as we catch them and kill them, and maybe we can use them. The problem is that in lots of places we have sanitary issues with those animals, so we can't allow people to eat them by themselves. And we do have also problems with establishing a real integrated way to deal with those corpses produced, and are they produced all year long? So is it economically viable to have meat from iguanas all year? And the last thing is that oh, I lost it. Sanitary and sorry, I can't remember. I had another thing to say, but it goes away. Too late. Yeah.
What is the length of incubation period for the eggs?
Oh, yeah. So what is the incubation period for the eggs of iguana? So most of the time the female, they grew the eggs inside the body for something between 3 weeks and a month, and after they lay the eggs, they will hatch within the 2 months. So it's quite fast. And as they are cold-blooded, they really need lots of energy to lay their eggs. So in their original region, with the rainy season, we do have only one reproduction a year. But in tiny little island like ours, we do have, okay, rainy season, but we do have also lots of food available every year long with all the productions, all the trash bins and things like that. So we do observe right now in French West Indies that they will probably reproduce twice a year. So not that good. Yep. So the question is, what happens if the iguana population grow? So, for, you mean the green iguana or like the native one? The native one. So the native population, you can see that from ages, the island of Saba is not overcrowded by black iguanas. It's because they just are at the right balance. They just produce enough offspring a year, and there is enough predators for the juveniles, and so the population is just stable over all the years from ages. And if there is, I don't think that they really can shift to be overgrowing. The problem will probably be on the other side. They will probably have difficulties to keep growing. Yeah. Yeah.
Are there any places around the world that are conserving the breeding programs like there are with tigers and everything else?
Yeah.
The different species.
Yeah. So the question is there any places that we have, I'd say, ex situ breeding program? And I remember what was my third idea for the fact of meat. We don't, in French territories anyway, we don't want to produce meat from iguana because we are afraid that people will start growing them in their garden and risk of them escape. So, yeah. And so for the ex situ breeding, yes, there is some program about conservation in zoos or breeders for the native species, and that's a real good solution to have them, protected. In case they disappear, we can start again with those founders. So it exists for some of the species of iguana we saw in the first pictures, yes. Delicatissima, for example, and some rock iguanas too. Yeah, and caiman too. Yeah. So, yeah, last question?
Well, thanks for the great presentation. I guess I have a question. Are there any near-term predictions of climate change effects, population dynamics, or hybridization risks? Or?
I think that's, we do have, the question is there any forecast about the climate change problem on iguana conservation? Yeah. So I think we do have lots of information about all this climate change thing. And I'm afraid that on iguana conservation, we have not enough data today to know in which way it can affect them really. So this is problematic issues that we are working on for sure, but will probably develop in the coming years. Yeah. Thank you for everything.
Thank you so much to Nathalie for your excellent presentation. That was really interesting. Thank you all for bearing with us tonight through some technical difficulties. If you could, on your way out, particularly if you have folding chairs, fold up your chairs and help them just back to, we've got stacks just sort of back towards the tent. That would help us to turn Long Hall back into a restaurant so they can continue with their normal business of the evening. Hopefully we'll see lots of you tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Yeah.